Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Burden of Command, our Let's Play series, playing this turn-based wargame that in its heart it wants to be a leadership RPG. It definitely has those elements. I think at times the combat and the RPGing are not as tightly knit as I would like to tell some of the storytelling to really hit in the way that like some games like Suzerain do. But it's still been a really enjoyable experience. We're like 14 episodes in at this point, or 15 episodes in at this point on YouTube. If you're watching this live on Twitch, the game came out today, the 8th of April. And so I figured, why not go ahead and do a launch day stream? Started a little bit late, but thanks for coming around, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this. We have just landed on the beaches of Sicily. We pushed off the beachhead, drove the Italians back, took a key highway and junction, and overall, I think we did pretty well. We did suffer a few casualties, mostly to landmines. I think that like 60% of our casualties were to landmines, and to one squad which got shot up a little bit when it failed an assault, and what have you. If you did miss it, we do have a new platoon commander for the first platoon. My character has been promoted, and I hate that it has this little returning from injury. Like I want this to go away. Hopefully it goes away soon because you can't see my portrait. But in any event, my character is now the captain of the company. The new Lieutenant Thompson is sort of a little bit green behind the ears, to say the least. And his platoon is the most experienced with 2 5-star squads and a 4-star squad. But they were probably the least effective squad in the last fight. The last fight was really on the right flank, Dearborn pushing on through some heavy terrain and taking some key enemy units out, and then Wilson's boys taking the key objectives out. So 2nd and 3rd platoon really led the way. I would also say in the initial landings, the 4th platoon, the heavy weapons platoon, its machine guns were instrumental in allowing us to assault the Italian trenches once we got up off the beach, and the mortars were instrumental throughout. So it was a good chance finally to see some heavy weapons in action and to provide some real utility to us in action there. But that's where we stand right now. The beachhead's just been taken, and I think we got an attaboy from our new battalion CO. But yeah, so we are going to go ahead and continue our journey and see what comes up. Palma di Montechero, 11 July 1943, Sicily.
General Patton's veterans of Tunisia make for the southwest. Units of Canadians, Australians, and French are taking part in the attack. Naval guns cover the landing. Tons of supplies and equipment are ferried ashore. At many points, troops waded in, surprised to find much less resistance than expected.
Thank you, Tommy. I thought it just said 11 July. Now it's 10 July? Although I guess it's 2000 hours, so maybe this is like the briefing before the attack the next day.
Some folks these days will tell you the Italians had no fight in them. Trust me, those folks are wrong.
Okay. The sun dips as Nickel Company marches down the road. A rifle cracks out and breaks up the rhythm of the Truscott Trot once again. The Truscott Trot, that's awesome. Once more, the men leap into dusty ditches, rifles leveled at every suspicious shadow in an olive grove or a lump in a field. But nothing comes of it this time. The Italians are retreating faster than the Cottonbalers can chase. Wish they'd just fight us. Where are they going? It's like the road to Casablanca all over again. No, the French gave a fight. Another day in the Sicilian paradise. Just wish they'd fight us. Prisoners dribble back toward the beach. The wounded are paired with the lucky. As the sun dips down, the order finally arrives from battalion. Halt and dig in. Counterattack expected. You send runners to pass along the change in orders. Once word has come, you head out personally to review each platoon's position and how they'll support one another. Hurry up and wait, Lieutenant Stern grumbles as he inspects the machine guns he is covering the road, the usual 10 yards apart. Like that parched little road to Casablanca all over again. Except in Casablanca, we never really had to deal with a counterattack. Have a good one, Salty. Thanks for the resub, by the way. They can't retreat forever. Aw, shucks, sir. I thought Morocco turned out great. Morris drawls in an overly pronounced southern accent as he and the rest of 1st Platoon dig in beside the machine guns. Expect for the sand and fleas and getting shot at by the French. It was a paradise. Our captain would agree. Our captain? Is that me, or is that our captain who died? He's just upset about the beach landing, Patterson replies as he watches the sun sink beneath the western hills. See, 1st Battalion got to land first and have their pick of the pillboxes, left or right. A ripple of chuckles carries down 1st Platoon's line. You note Lieutenant Thompson as he mixes among the platoon, chatting and listening in turn to each other. His eyes go wide when he sees you looking at him. Anxiously, he hustles over. It seems like the war still agrees with him. All set here, Captain. 1st Platoon is, well, they used to be yours, right? I mean, before. Lieutenant Thompson notices hesitantly. Before I ascended toward godhood. Hell yeah, brother. There's something magical about promotion. Yes, I believe that was before. He knows the answer. Before I ascended toward godhood. Hell yeah, brother. I was going to say, Thompson replies falteringly. I mean, I'm looking after the men as best I can. Just stop trying so hard, alright? Just do your job. Keep an eye on Roberts. He can be unlucky. Remind Crosley to keep his balance. Morris and Patterson are alright, but in those small doses. Look after him and listen to your sergeant. That is where you should be. You listen to your NCO, dude. Okay, so these different things can give different impacts, but I would say listen to your sergeant. Like that's the role playing in me is what I would say is do that. Gives him 5 trust, 3 initial suppression. I don't like that. They're your men. You lead them. Listen to your sergeant. Listen to your sergeant. Right, Captain? They sure do seem to know what the men want, Lieutenant Thompson says, though you can tell he accepts this wisdom reluctantly. Anything else, Captain? I imagine you have company matters to attend to. He's right about that. Even with Lieutenant McGuire recently attached as your XO helping out with the logistics, it's still hard to run a company during combat operations. Captain morale. Captain gains morale or reduces combat fatigue. I mean, I trust my other again from the role-playing element. I trust my other guys. So we'll just return to command post. Give me the prestige. Halfway back to the command post, Private Jackson, your company runner, races up. He pauses to catch his breath a moment before he says that Lieutenant Colonel Heintges is at the CP. Amid the dying light of the day, you find Lieutenant Colonel already at the command tent. He's not alone either. There's a busted-up enemy machine gun, Nichols' armorer, Tech Sergeant Arthur. The two peer down at the long metal strip dotted with cartridges, an Italian ammo clip, which is why they oil the cartridges and not the chamber, the Lieutenant Colonel asks. Ah, the glory of the crappy Italian machine gun. Know thy enemy. If there's a maxim for any commander, it's to know thy enemy. Fewer surprises, the better. Yes, sir, and that oil gets it bad, Tech Sergeant Arthur replies, like wax and honey. Which leads to it jamming all because of these charging clips. The Italians are braver than I thought, Heintges concludes. With that point settled, he looks up at you. Ah, Captain, just in time. Your commander stands and finishes an oil-stained map from, fishes, oh my god, an oil-stained map from his pocket. He points at a town circled in heavy pencil. Palma di Mancherio, he says. The Italians hold it for now. Tomorrow at 4:30, 3rd Battalion, less your company, will will swing in toward these hills to take to the south, while elements of the 1st Battalion flank them from the north. Once both battalions make contact, Nickel will push through the town with the eventual objective of getting astride the road to Argento. Putting the Italians in the sack, kicking the door down on this whole flank, neatly defeating the Italians here. That'd be quite the coup. Yes, sir, we will do that. If we can, he says. Questions? Will we have artillery? Not much. Most of what we have will be committed to the attack in the south. After all, if we don't drive them out of those hills, there isn't much point in taking the town. Reinforcements? Armor? We may need something. I'd love to get armor. What do we know about reconnaissance? Aerial and ground recon is pretty lean. Near as anyone can tell, we should be facing off against the 177th Regiment under, well, they think it's a colonel named Venturi. However, indications are that there might be local militia mixed into things too. If I were Venturi, I'd leave the militia to defend the town while his regular forces protect the flanks, but there's no telling what he has deployed where. A pity that running patrols might tip our hand. I'd like permission to recon the approaches to the town. I'm inclined to say no. It might tip them off to our approach route, but if we don't run any patrols at all, they might get suspicious. So send a few out, but don't kick any anthills over. No other questions? Scouts report that the Italians have been digging in on the southern side of the town. Trenches, but no bunkers. The need for stalwart soldiers will be great as you watch them trace a finger along the map. They'll be prepared, but they've got a lot of town to defend. Swinging around to hit them from the east would avoid that, but they'll probably have machine guns in the houses covering the approaches. Then again, they could have those anywhere. So use your judgment. Contact battalion when you make a decision. Lieutenant Colonel nods. Good. A jeep will come forward before dawn. I don't need the prestige. Give me a hot coffee. A little backstrap coffee to go with the men's cold breakfast? Absolutely. He departs. You get in touch with your counterparts in the other companies and hashing out lines of advance, mortar concentrations, and other dreary but necessary details. The patrols go out after dusk and return without incident. The enemy is definitely in town and in strength. The trenches are no joke. Most of the buildings have sandbag windows. Preparations continue. Night, fitful sleep. The harsh sun blares down on the ground beneath your bare feet. It's cool. Somewhere in the distance, artillery booms and the acrid scent of cordite mixes with the stench of death. It's all too familiar, as is the figure that steps near. I know you, Captain Lamb. Oh, am I seeing visions of, Okay. Trying to think, what would I do? Probably just stare at him. Captain Lamb stares back. It's an old game between you, but this time it's different. There's sorrow in his eyes, blood on his jacket. You've been through a lot, and that lot isn't over, Captain Lamb says, and invites you to sit on a rocky outcropping. The stone there is uncomfortable, but your legs thank you for it anyway. Everyone takes it different. What's the worst part for you? Good men die, and they keep on dying. That's the curse of it. A lot of good fellows die because of a few bad ones. And that didn't just start in 33, Captain Lamb says. But at some point, they'll run out of steam if you don't let up, because they're counting on you to do just that. The weight of it all looms over you. Handle it like others have. You ain't the first, you won't be the last. But here's the trouble. What you need, you can't have. You're bleeding. Bleeding from your mind and from your soul. For you to heal, you need to have time to sort things out. But this war won't wait. The best you can do is to slap on a bandage and try not to reopen old wounds. Didn't have one. Got shot and didn't need one. When I got my commission, my father took me aside and told me how proud he was, that I was going to continue the family tradition, or one of the traditions anyway. See, he was an artilleryman and fought in the Big One. One day, early last November, he directed a fire mission and got the numbers wrong. Wait, so he was in the... See, he was an artilleryman and fought in the Big One. One day, early last November, he directed a fire mission. Early last November? What? This doesn't make sense to me, because if he was in the previous war, why are we... A 7 might scrawl like a 1 or a 3 or a bends toward an 8. Doesn't take much to get something wrong, and it didn't. He couldn't change what had happened. Dead men stayed dead. The crippled didn't walk. The blind didn't see. He tried to make peace with it. Couldn't, shouldn't. Bent himself trying to make sure it didn't happen again. That kept him going and kept him going too. Trying to lift a shadow. So it's going to keep you going. They deserve more than a grave and a marker. They deserve to be remembered in peace. In sorrow find joy, Captain Lamb says, as the dream begins to fade. Combat fatigue, -40. Okay. Yeah, maybe he meant November of World War I. It's weird written, the way it was written, though. Boom! An explosion far too close jars you wide awake. Somewhere outside along the road, a fire burns. As you get up from your little cot, First Sergeant Grant pauses at the tent flap. Something hit a mine down the road, Captain. Looks like one of ours. You motion for him to go ahead while you pull your jacket and grab your helmet. The flames are snuffed out by the time you approach. A small crowd of GIs. Their small hand flashlights fitted with red filters to dim the glow dance about the silhouettes of a smoky Jeep. The driver and passenger, miraculously sitting upright and whole on the roadside, are tended to by medics. First Sergeant Grant leaves a recovery crew to throw handfuls of dirt onto the sudden flare of flame and hurries back over. Could be worse. There's coffee all over, but everyone's still talking. One of them in full-on Italian. Get the men dispersed. Someone might have seen that explosion and ordered artillery down. There's a lot of stumbling about in the dark to be done until you get the flap closed up tight. When you turn up the lantern, you find a bloody lieutenant and grimacing Sicilian farmer who could be his brother. Sure, boss. Okay, 2nd Lieutenant, 7th Infantry Regiment. He's a translator, okay. Went past my command post in the dark, and when Fabiano realized we were headed to the bridge, he begged me to turn around. Then they hit a mine. Okay. You dim the lantern and camera guides Fabiano away, chattering away with every step. Through the flap you catch sight of Morris as the man fills a canteen after canteen from a leaking barrel of coffee. Nearby, Patterson hefts a 30 cal machine gun for Sergeant Arthur to examine. I'll need some coffee later. Okay. I'll take the trust and then the chance of the machine gun. I'll leave it up to the technician on whether he thinks it's a good idea or not. Alright, let's get the men up. Secure the town center. Suffer no more than moderate casualties. Oh boy. So we are allowed to take up to 9%? Oh, so okay. No more than moderate. Usually it says no more than light, but victory conditions are still the same, it would appear. Alright, so companies deployed here on the southern edge of the map. Looks like there are Italian trenches in front of the town. It's not a very dynamic map by the looks of it. It looks like we're going to have to cross an open area anyway to get to these hills. It looks like our reconnaissance has uncovered Italian troops here as well as an MG location. We don't know everything the enemy has, but that's at least some. We are going to be crossing open ground. But if I were to try to flank left, you know, I don't think that would be a very successful route. Flanking right, maybe this low area would give us some cover, but we'd still be in the open, so we'd have to go way wide right to maybe use some wooded area here to get in. I think the better approach is just going to be to go straight at them and then try to get at the cover in the houses. They do have MGs this way too, I think. What do my MGs see? Can they see the bad guys? They can. So my MGs can provide some cover. At least one of them. The other guy, that's a mortar. The other MG can do what? Can't see anything. Okay, that's fine. All right. Do my mortars have... Do I have any smoke ability? Because if I had smoke, that would go a long way toward... Nope. All right. First things first. Can we hit the enemy with any mortars? Not by my captain, anyway. What about Stern? Can he see anything? No. Okay. Well, that's great. That's just great. We'll be able to see something later once we get up on the ridge, but maybe we should swing a platoon right. Maybe we should swing Dearborn right to try and move up through the town this way. I'm a little nervous of doing that, but I think that might actually be the right approach. I think they'll be in cover because they're kind of on a reverse slope here. So Dearborn will go right with his platoon. We'll try and get to this wooded area up here. Might expose ourselves a little as we go up over that ridge. Trying to keep distance, so even if they do see me, they'll be unable to do much damage. Okay. All right. So far they're moving around that flank. They'll move into this wood line here and then try and get in close with whatever might be out that way. Meanwhile, I think Wilson and Thompson will go up the middle toward these enemy objectives. But we got to end the turn for Dearborn first. And then this MG can do what? Can he hit any of the enemy MGs? He's already facing that way. He's really not, though. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to move the damn MG. I meant for him to just change his facing. I thought I was hitting the facing button. Instead, I moved to really no benefit. Okay. Seeing as Stearns is moving. What happens if he just moves here? I should have creeped. That's what I should have done. Alright, so he can at least see one of these machine guns over here, which are on the flank. So we'll call mortars in on these guys. They're in the open, too. So we dropped mortars on them, inflicted casualties on them. Good job, actually. So there's one MG that we'll have to deal with here in these trenches, but at least these guys are suppressed and took some damage. Okay. I'm going to move him down here. I think he's in some cover here, so better position there. All right, some Italian units are moving around. All right, let's see if Wilson can get here. Wonder if they can get that far forward and get to that wood. They can. Okay, good job, boys. So they charge forward here into the woods, and then they can open fire on these Italians in the trenches here. Maybe suppress them a bit. Okay. We'll get Wilson's other... They did not move. They failed. The game's written in Python. Interesting. I did not know that. Probably would have been better to bolster there. Give them a little bit more of a ability to run. These guys are going to be in the open, which is not going to be great. MGs. Can we... How about my commander comes up here and tries to press them so they can get into the woods? All right, go up around them. You can be adjacent of 2 units. Go ahead and press. I can't get Wilson out of there, but I can at least get the infantry. Ah! Damn it. So someone shot at me and we took a casualty. Man down! Alright, I think it was from here. So to that end. Can you recon by fire here? No, you can't. Okay. I'd like to know what's over there, but... Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to charge my own officer up there and get him shot, so we'll just have to hold in place there. And then Thompson's boys, can they... I'm curious here. This line of sight, what's this look like? So these guys can actually not see below them. Strange decision for the enemy here. But in that, because of that, we're going to have Thompson move his boys up this way. Because apparently this whole area below the cliffs are... or below this ridge is kind of a blind spot for the troops we've seen in these trenches. So we're going to try and get our boys up there, and then they can close with the enemy in those trenches and then charge them real quick, which would be nice. So one squad up the main road with that wooded terrain, one squad working its way around the right flank, and then the other squad working its way around the left. Now the enemy MG that is up that way can see us, but we hit them with artillery, so they're at least somewhat suppressed. Oh, fuck. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't mean to click that. Oh, no. Well, they're suppressed. Nobody died there. Ugh. More suppressed, but nobody died. Wow. Well, that was a miracle. First squad, first platoon took a decent chunk of suppression there, but nobody died. So that's a good result, I guess. Should be the end of the turn, right? Yeah, I think so. Right, turn 2, our officer's going to come up here because he's going to need to bolster for those attacks. But
going back in.
For now, I just want you to rally your boys. I think Thompson will probably stay put. So we'll end it there. He can stay put on that trench line. Alright, so that enemy unit that had killed one of our boys in Wilson's platoon is at least located here. They do some suppression to us again. We'll rally those boys.
We'll find the best way.
I'm tempted. Problem is I don't know anything about that enemy unit there. They could just as easily resist us there. Fuck it. Now you know what we're going to do? We're going to hold off there. We'll move Wilson up to join that squad, and then Wilson will join in the attack. Although he's going to get shot by enemy machine guns from the flank. At least Wilson survives that. Takes some stress. Understandably. Bolster from the captain.
You heard the captain. Get going.
There's probably some other bad guys around this way that are... Those are not good odds to succeed. They're already bolstered. Okay. Why don't we instead, we've got the points to do it. Let's creep.
Hoof it.
Alright, those guys are suppressed too. We've got decent odds here on this after we creeped. The fighting continues before Palma di Moncherio. You watch as the men break the trench line with a sudden surge. Moments later, several Italian squads break in succession and recoil into the city. White flags appear in windows and doorways. A strange silence falls. Moments later, an older man in a black civilian suit steps forward, his hands raised. "Please stop shooting," he calls across the way in his thickly accented but passable English. "I bring a message from the commander of the garrison. He's willing to discuss surrender so long as he may do so as an officer." So have him come out. Figure in a heavy greatcoat steps out from a nearby building. They're just stalling for time. Send them officer if they want to surrender. I'd probably be more hesitant of the Germans, but each of your 4 officers is looking your way. Who do we send? Wilson is probably the most tactful. Okay. Oh no! What the fuck? Blood flies as Wilson staggers back. His carbine barks, the round taking the Italian officer in the neck. Jesus fucking Christ. Ah! All right. I wasn't expecting that. I just lost my probably best officer. The entire squad draw. I assume, that would be something I would have expected of the Germans, not the goddamn Italians. In moments, the entire squad drops like a sack of grain, wounded or dead. Okay. Seeing red. First Sergeant Grant screams at the top of his lungs in disbelief that becomes rage as he empties his carbine at the enemy. "There will be blood. The men want vengeance." I don't know why I switched my accents here. Okay. Alright, so we lost like 6 KIA in this first squad, second platoon. We also lost Wilson. Wilson, no! Okay, so Wilson is dead. We lost our first officer to some fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Alright, so now what? Let's drop mortars on this MG here. We already suppressed the MG over here. Let's try and suppress the MG in the trenches. At least we partially did it. Man, that's a rough way to go. Alright, so that's all for Wilson's what's left of Wilson's squad. Man, that sucks. Wilson should have sent the rookie. Gotten him killed. That's why rookies go on point, right? You don't send your best soldiers for something like that. I'm stupid. I shouldn't have done that. Alright, can you get up on this tree line? See what you can see. Doesn't seem like there's any indication of any enemy troops up this way. I mean, I'm sure there are. Maybe once... Oh, here, we're going to see something. Alright. So they took stress, but they also were able to close without too much damage. I think, unless there's an MG, they'll be safe there. Alright. Suppress these assholes here. Make them pay for Wilson! We took 4% casualties on that one damn event. I mean, there were times where shit like that would happen, but that seems more what I would expect of some German. Alright, everybody, I know this is a bit of a cliffhanger. Wilson's dead, I guess, and we're in the midst of a rage, our men losing their minds in rage after the clear war crime and treachery by the fake surrendering Italians. We'll see how that plays out in our next video. This battle is split into 2 parts, so we will continue this in our next episode, because we've been going for over 40 minutes, and the video is over an hour and a half long, so I don't want to put that long of a video out there. Anyway, guys, I hope you're enjoying this series. Look at Burden of Command, which is now out on Steam. And without further ado, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm out.